Good morning. Happy Saturday. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. Do let me know where you're joining from, and I will give you a shout out. Do we have no volume? Volume. Yeah, I think we have some volume now. Good morning. Again, welcome to my life. Thank you for joining. Do let me know where you're joining from and drop a comment. I think that's the only way I know you're watching. If you drop a comment or a like. Today we are talking about problems. This is one of those topics that is endless. Like you can talk about it forever and still have more stuff to say about it. So if we've talked about problems before, hopefully today we're looking at it from a different perspective. I love this saying that the problem is not the problem, but how we see it or our approach towards it, our attitude towards it is the problem. Because then it magnifies it, it focuses on it, it prioritizes it, it just brings the problem to a whole different level of existence in your life. How we cling to it, how we avoid it, how we constantly talk about it. Whatever it is that is your problem approach is the thing that we are going to try and address today and hopefully change, because the psychologists or the experts are saying that once you change that, once you leave the problem and come back to you, do some changes, do some adjustments here, you generally start to cope better. So let's talk about that. Let's have that reflection and actually put it to test, see how it works. Hello, Matthew. How are you doing? Good morning, happy Saturday, and thank you for joining. So, do we make our problems worse by the way we approach them? And before we start this, we want to say that problems are different for every person. Like something that I see as a crippling problem will be seen by someone else as an opportunity, as a challenge, like something that stimulates you, wants you to sit there and figure it out. And that actually stimulates you and activates your motivation to explore that problem. Whereas other people just shut down, not again. Why does this keep happening to me? And that is the first place of change, because truth is, if you change that view of the problem, if you change that approach towards the problem, you generally start to cope better, even though everything in your life is still the same. Thank you so much, Matthew. Appreciate that. Hello, Andrew Christine. My name is Aso. That's a really good question. My name is Aso. I live in the UK. I am a social worker, but this channel is not about my profession. It's just I do reflection, mindset, growth, and healing videos, just topics like this for us to talk about and see how I do things, how you do things, and what are the experts saying about those things, so that we can start to hopefully do them differently to help us cope better. And today we are talking about problems, problem approaches, and why do some people keep rising over? What is it that decides resilience and success, even though we are all living in a challenging world? Yes, some people are born with opportunity. They are born with more support, more love. But you may find that even those people are not coping so well. Even the richest people are not necessarily the most happy people. So it all comes back to us as individuals and how we deal with the problems that we encounter in our lives. Okay. So if the problem is not the problem, it means that you, the solution, the leader, the person who is encountering the problem, you have to grow bigger, bigger in mindset, bigger in motivation, bigger in your approach towards those problems. Because the more skills you gain, the more you grow, the more your problems shrink. And I found that interesting because obviously we all know that growth comes with more problems, riches come with more problems. But if you're open to learning more, if your mindset around those problems is one of expectation, yeah, they're bound to happen. Problems are a part of life. Problems are a chance to learn and grow. Problems are an opportunity for you and your connections to hash out disagreement and grow in that relationship. Because if you think about it, when you meet people, they are strangers. Sometimes we learn through conflict. I do something, they don't like it, they call it out, and then we talk about it. This is why I did it, this is what I was thinking, and then you know each other better. Sometimes that is our map through learning and growing and understanding our lives and the problems that we encounter. So your mindset around each problem is your starting point to navigating that problem. What is your thinking and belief set around money? What do you think about money? If you already think, okay, my family or me or my village or my country, the crisis and every other reason why you're not going to push past your challenges to earn that money. What is your mindset around love? Is it like the roses that are surrounded by thorns that you're very likely to get hurt, deceived, heartbreak? And this stems generally from your upbringing. Like, what were my experiences as a child? Did I experience trust? Did I experience care and praise? And were my needs prioritized? Then maybe I'll see life differently. But if you've been hurt and traumatized and lied to, and if that is your mindset surrounding relationships, then it's going to have an impact on you. So, growth means maturity. When you gain a certain level of emotional and psychological and even spiritual maturity, when you grow in those areas, your approach to the problems of your life will grow with the knowledge and experience of those areas. Okay, do you pray and get on with it? Do you see people as imperfect and capable of making mistakes, or do you shut down with those problems? That maturity has a certain like reference to how you deal with your problems. Okay, perspective. How do you see those things? Are the possibilities or impossibilities, limitations, inabilities? How do you see you versus the problem? Your perspective of the problem and your perspective of you and circumstances is going to determine how or whether you deal with it. And then we've mentioned mindset and finally negativity. Like some of us just go like, why me? Why again? Keeps happening to me. And that doesn't take us anywhere. So are you able to adapt? Because adaptation will help you. Do you have a lot of expectations of life, of what should or shouldn't happen? Then those expectations are not necessarily going to get you far because they may be the things actually causing your problems for you. And then finally, just the motivation. What is your motivation to go beyond the levels that you need to go to resolve these problems? Okay. So there are different ways in which we look at problems, and each way Each way we approach life determines how we solve the problems in our lives. And this is different for everybody. Okay. Some people, the mindset is that life needs to be pleasing. We are chasing the happy things of life. We are chasing the pleasures of life. Okay. If your approach towards life is one that expects happiness and goodness and love and pleasure from every encounter, you're going to be disappointed and hurt and challenged by those encounters that do not bring you love and happiness and joy and all of those positive rush things that bring you immediate happiness. Okay. So when you expect pleasure or chase pleasure from life, you will get it in a lot of things, but also you will struggle because it is not sustainable. There are days for toil, there are days for healing, there are days to actually sweat and put in the hard work, and those days will not look like positive planting days to someone whose expectation from life is one of pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. So what is your attitude towards life? The other one is chasing comfort. If you are like really, really addictive to clinging to comfort, you want to be comfortable in your life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Comfort is also the same like safety. You worry that this decision will be risky. This decision will push you out of these comfortable circumstances that you've worked really hard to achieve for your life. Okay. Like you already have a family, you already have a decent job, you already are respected. What if I start this business and things go wrong and people start to see me as a scam? What if I get into this relationship and this person breaks my heart and it destabilizes this beautiful independent life that I have created? What if? So when you are comfortable enough and you worry and fear that decisions and choices that you make may take you away from that beautiful, comfortable life that you have, you can also get stuck by hanging into comfort. And actually, sometimes when time passes, things can shift in that comfortable life, whether or not you like it. You could get sick, okay? An economic crisis could happen. Other things could happen outside of your control that destabilize that comfort, anyways. So when you cling on to comfort without seeing the need to stretch yourself, to do new things, meet new people, like attempt other things that are potentially risky and could push you slightly out of that comfortable position that you've worked really hard for, then you can also get stuck in a problem life. So the first thing that we've talked about is, are you chasing pleasure? Are you stuck in it has to be good to me for me to belong to it? It has to be amazing for me to participate in it. But what happens then to the digging and the planting and the cultivating seasons when you're bringing something from nothing, when you are working on it without guarantee that it's going to be a success in the future? If you seek pleasure, you will miss out on those days, on those chores and planting seasons. If you seek comfort, you will stay in your positions where you are now without pushing. The other thing is avoidance. And avoidance, again, is around not wanting to be hurt, not wanting to face pain or to face challenges, but wanting to like seek the things that I think will not hurt me, the people that I think will not hurt me. I want to avoid this and address this and stay with this place. So again, that can back you into a corner when you're trying to avoid potentially negative things. Okay. And then misinterpreting problems. Like sometimes you have to face your problems, disagreement with people, okay? Like going and doing things that you haven't done before. I will be happy when money comes. I will be happy when the perfect partner comes. I will be settled when this happens. Those also do not give you long-lasting happiness. And that's a very faulty way of approaching your problems. So not all problems need solutions. That's very difficult because problems are painful. Problems push us out of balance. So we always feel that the quicker we solve these problems, the quicker we can go back to being happy and stable. But not all problems require your attention. Not all problems need your solutions. And I was reading that and I was like, that's actually, that stresses me out, but it's very true. Sometimes you need to walk away. So imagine that your problem is a toxic partner. Imagine that your problem is a business that is losing money. Staying there and trying to fix and fix and fix that partner or that business may not be the right thing to do. Sometimes walking away from a problem is the solution. So dwelling on problems can itself be the problem, because sometimes we beat our problems to death, like the dead horse that we keep beating. Okay. And that's another thing that we need to understand. When is the right time to walk away? When is the right time to give up? Even if in giving up you lose a lot. You lose a lot of emotional investment. You lose a lot of financial investment. Yes, that is very difficult to walk away from. But what if staying costs you more? And in some cases, even your life. We've seen people who, because of what they didn't want to lose, followed that thing to the grave. And that is really difficult because you never know when to walk away. But that's why we're having these conversations. At what point do you look at this problem and think, I need to reevaluate my strategy, my attitude, my habits, my network? Because sometimes those are the deeper problem than the actual problem that you're trying to fix. And when you start to think like that, you will cope better with your problems. Like, what are you trying to hide? What are you trying to suppress? They say what we don't express, we suppress. What we don't express, we suppress. And that can be about yourself. That can be about others. If you're in a business, in a workplace, in a relationship that you're hurting but not saying what is hurting you, you're muting yourself for the sake of peace. You're trying to please the other people by not pleasing yourself, by not following your own dreams and your own health matter. Like what you suppress, what you do not express, you suppress, and what you suppress starts to hurt you in other ways. It starts to influence your life in silence. So you really want to be able to look that problem in the eye and accept that this is a problem in my life. Whether I created it or not, it is still a problem in your life. And only with that reflection and acceptance can you really start to address it. So I love that one. What you do not express, you suppress. And what you suppress explodes in different ways in your life. Now we are going to look at internal conflicts. Sometimes we think that problems are the only things that people present us with, that society or life creates for us, but sometimes those problems are in there. We fight with them in there, and they affect us regardless of whether they are present in our lives or just thought about. Whether they are just beliefs that we have in our heads, they are still problems. Whether they are just recurring thoughts, negative thoughts, scary thoughts that we think about daily, they are still problems in our lives. And if you don't see them as problems, you will never understand the impact or the solutions that they deserve. So what are some of the examples of internal conflicts that we face like love. I want a meaningful relationship, but I'm struggling to be vulnerable, to bring down my walls, to connect, to invest, and to do the things that will lead to that meaningful relationship. So inside you, you want a great partner. But how do we get a great partner? By meeting people, by talking to those people about ourselves, by being vulnerable and talking about our mistakes and our shame and our strengths and everything. But if you cannot do those other things that will lead to that beautiful, meaningful, loving relationship that you seek, then there is conflict in the fact that you want the thing, but at the same time, you're hiding from it because of the fear and the worry of what will happen to it. The other example is your health. Like, I think we all want to be healthy. Everybody wants to have good health, good weight, okay, good sleep, good diets. But there's a lot of stress and temptations and just challenges of life that stop us from living healthy lives. Like, we work too hard, we don't rest enough. We eat too much, we don't stick to the relevant healthy things. We don't watch our weight, and weight then triggers health related things, and health related concerns trigger a sense of self, how we feel and love us, and how we feel about ourselves and love ourselves then affects our relationships and our social and other activities. And then finally, you've got like finances. What is your financial situation? What are you doing about it? What do you believe about your ability to change those things? Because those also affect us negatively. Now, we cannot talk about problems without talking about some solutions. How do you then start to break this cycle of problem saturated focus? How do you start to see life differently? How do you start to grow you so that your problems can shrink? Because that's what we said to begin with. Instead of focusing on your problems, focus on your skills growth, focus on your mindset shift, focus on your perspectives and approaches to those problems. Because when your skills and your trust in self and your belief and confidence in self grows, those problems will shrink in the face of a bigger, better version of you. And that I found interesting. So let's look at some strategies that will help you to grow bigger than those problems, so that even the same problems that are existing in your life, you will start to see them differently. Some of them will not even warrant your stress. Others you will resolve better because now you know better. Okay. The first thing to do is the 5 whys approach. And this is said to have been created or formulated by Sakachi Toyoda. Like, why? We always treat the symptoms and not the actual causes. So the 5 whys will help you to get to the root cause of the problem. Not just the first presenting issue, but what is behind and beyond that surface issue that you're dealing with. Let's take, for example, somebody who is struggling with creating their business. You're saying to yourself, I cannot start this business. If that's your problem, you're struggling financially, you're struggling with your purpose and your passion. And if that's your problem and you're thinking, I could never get this right, my life is not fulfilled, I just feel this vacuum that I need to feel in my life. And for you, that surface problem is, I can't start my business. That's your problem. But why? That's your first why. Ask yourself why. Why is it that you could not start this business? Your answer may be, I don't have what it takes. I don't have the tools. Then ask yourself again, why? Why don't you have what it takes? And then that's your second why. It may be that I want to start a business as an electrician, but I do not have the skills. I've never done this before. And you may be thinking, why? Why? Okay, you want to start a business as an electrician, and that's an area that you've never had any expertise around. Then you may be thinking, because this is really important to me, knowing how to serve my community as an electrician is important to me. Why? Why is this specific area so important above all the other areas that are important to you? Then you may get to the fact that something happened to you, something happened to someone you love, something happened that scared you, that traumatized you, that broke you down, that you want to resolve by starting this business in this specific area. Well, now you're getting to the root cause of your limitation in that area. Is it the trauma that scares you? Is it the view of your inabilities that scares you? Or is it your lack of skills in that area? But by asking yourself why you can't start the business, why you need this area, why, you go beyond what you thought was the problem to the actual root, deeper cause of that problem. Okay. The second approach that you can use to adjust your problem approach is the SWOT analysis. It's like, what are the internal versus external like factors that are potentially affecting you in this area that your problem is sitting in? Look at your strengths to begin with, because even if you're struggling with something, there's always that one thing that you can do right in that area. What is it? What is your strength in relation to that issue? Let's go back to the example of you wanting to start a business. What do you know? Yes, you don't know a whole lot of things in that area, but what is it that you do know how to do? What is your strength in that area that you can maximize on? That would boost your motivation to know that I may not know everything, but this is the one thing that I'm really good at. Okay. What is the weakness, or what are the weaknesses? Because we all have them. And if you're not highlighting yours, you're lying to yourself. But by highlighting them, you're not limiting you. You're clarifying where your area of growth lies and what you need to do to actually maximize that. Okay. So then look at the opportunities. What can we take advantage of in this thing that I'm looking at? Where are the areas of marketing or community or family that we can take advantage of? Then that should also lean towards, you already know something, and you already know something that you can do to add to your strengths. You know that this is a limitation and you have to do things to cover that limitation. And finally, what are the potential threats that you need to avoid or anticipate? A lot of the times we avoid anticipating negative things. We just expect good things to come to us. But the psychologists are saying that if you anticipate what will go wrong, if you already sit back and think, what is my biggest threat in this relationship, on this journey, in this business? Is it the market? Is it my competitors? Is it my behavior, my attitude towards it, my habits? Once you identify that, you're more likely to succeed. And finally, adjust your approach. Sometimes it's not about the problem. Sometimes it's not about the difficulties that we are encountering. It's about how we are approaching those things. It's about how we are relating with those people. It's about perspective, process, or even the people that we have surrounded ourselves with. So, walking away from the problem is not a weakness, it's actually sometimes a solution. But if it's one that you need to stay and address, then you want to be thinking at your view of that problem, your attitude towards that problem, and the processes that you are using to solve that problem. We all have problems, but somehow some people keep rising above better than some of us. Why? Why are some people ecstatically happy in this life, irrespective of their own problems? And why do problems break some of us? That's why you want to go back and actually look at how you approach problems. If you think they shouldn't exist in your life, then you have a problem because they are going to keep coming. But if you accept problems as part of life, accept that you have some of the solutions, even if not all, accept that you will always try your best to rise, to learn, to grow, so that you can have more skills and more strategies to manage them, then your coping will be so much better. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Matthew and Andrew, for commenting. I appreciate you all. And please do subscribe if you haven't, and share to motivate someone else in your own circle. Thank you.